Authoritarian parenting.
Next, authoritarian parenting.
It sounds similar to authoritative parenting, but make sure not to confuse the two. Authoritarian parents are also high on control, but their parenting is lacking warmth and emotion. These parents believe children should follow rules without exception. They are strict and believe in punishments and discipline. While enforcing their rules, they don't really care about their children's emotions. Negotiation is just not an option in their house. They may seem cold and distant when dealing with their children, and sometimes they can even get hostile and aggressive. When their children grow up, they're obedient, respect authority, and follow the rules. But because their opinions were never heard or valued, they have problems with self-esteem. It's hard for them to communicate their wants and needs with confidence. Because of this, they may be prone to depression or anxiety disorders.
What you think of that authoritarian parenting, Deb?
Yeah, so that one was so hard to watch because, as we said in our previous videos, so raised in that style of parenting, and can see all the consequences that I've experienced. I wouldn't change anything about the way that I was raised, really, but I can see things, issues with self esteem, issues with wondering, are my ideas valuable? And no matter how much education I get, there still is that sort of niggling, oh, am I good enough sort of thing, from being raised with authoritarian parents. So yeah, I mean, everything they said was really right on. I wouldn't add anything. I wouldn't add anything. And I saw where they changed the wording and made it sharper. Instead of saying consequences, like strict consequences, they were like strict and punitive, right? The punishment thing. Yeah, it made me sad. And actually, that's exactly what I found in my research as well. This idea of like the lowered warmth, which was called belonging in the study that I did. This lowered belonging, and how that really, you can't have one without the other. You can't have this idea of having too much control, as they're calling it, in that without the warmth. The two just don't go together to motivate the young people and to cause a good relationship. So really agreed with everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Well, I was just thinking while that was playing how the blind obedience part is really the scariest feature of authoritarian parenting. I think it puts our kids at risk of being abused. Um, when we teach them blind obedience, they're going to be more conformist and more likely to be people pleasing. And so it's really easy for them to fall in love with people who want to control them all the time and expect them to do things that are unreasonable or hurtful, you know, or they could end up joining cults or other abusive structures,
Mm-hmm.
or buy into abusive structures and think they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of what's really going wrong in this country right now is that too many people are just kind of going along with the existing systems,
Mm-hmm.
and so many people are suffering. Even the people who seem to be doing well in it are suffering because of this blind obedience, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's scary when you put it in that context, right? And I even think of like, um, little kids, right, who think, you know they have to obey all the adults, right? And then, not all the adults are good adults, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so just get confused as to what I'm supposed to do in this situation. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good point. It's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. And also, I think that whole um, silencing of somebody's
Voice and ideas.
desires and, yeah,
Hmm.
um, ideas is so damaging,
Hmm.
and I've met so many adults over the years in my practice, doing therapy and coaching and stuff, who had no idea what they wanted,
Hmm.
because they've been told their entire lives that what they wanted was irrelevant, you know,
Hmm.
and it took a lot of work before they started to even feel what they wanted anymore, you
Yeah.
know, what they wanted inside, internally, completely divorced of anybody else's expectations.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really sad.
Yeah. I love how this topic, this topic on the parent-child relationship ties in so much with our other videos. I imagine a person being raised in this style, right? And as much as I do, would struggle with like boundaries and setting limits because you were told like your needs, or maybe not told explicitly, but raised as though your needs they were secondary. You know, the main thing is do what you're told, and make those around you, the adults around you, happy and pleased with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, problem with codependency, yeah, just all these areas that we've been talking about with our, with some of our other videos, how they would struggle with these issues. It explains so much, right? Explains a lot.